Liteforex Social Trading. Spend your time doing what really matters to you.
Good morning, guys. 9th of September 2019. It's 8 a.m. CET, 7 a.m. London. Piotr here, meaning that we are about to cover pre-London Open. And we are going to do this live only here, Liteforex Global YouTube channel. Let's start with the risk warning, guys. Please bear in mind trading FX on margin carries a high level of risk, may not be suitable for all investors who can sustain a loss of some or all initial investment. So please do not invest the money you cannot afford to lose. Seek education, gain experience before risking real money. However, past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Okay. So what we have here, guys, new week, plenty of new challenges. Just a reminder, after our pre-London meeting, we are going to cover UK GDP at 10:15 a.m. CET, 9:15 a.m. London. So you are more than welcome to join me. We are going to have, like, 1 hour and 1.5 break, and then we are going to cover the UK data. Of course, the key driver from the pound perspective are the things related to the Brexit. Many things happened over the weekend. More about that because it's strictly pound related. So more about that during our next meeting. We are going to connect with Michał, our macro guy, as well. Anyway, just to mention, it's it's from quite some time. It's like a bit of comedy. I know it's not that funny for the people living in UK. It might not be that funny, but the thing is that we Telegraph and Times. Let me provide you the links. Both over the weekend wrote that Borisjohnson has a smart plan to try to avoid or sabotage any kind of the Brexit extension. Hi Random Nay, how are you doing? Something a little bit higher than 107 is a post-French election gap, and that's what we were talking. Previous week. The bad thing is that market, the bulls were able to close above 110, but we are about to we are going to talk about that. Yeah, sure. That's what I think as well. That we are about to close this gap. Anyway, Borisjohnson has a smart plan to try to sabotage any kind of the attempt to extend the Brexit on 31st of October. On the other hand, looks like from what we get from the EU officials, there are not gonna be any kind of the extension, and there is especially from France, hard stance that no extension. So pound is a little bit weaker ahead of the London Open. We also had the gap down on the pound. So let's start here. With cable here. So the thing is, as you can see, the gap down. Maybe it's gonna be better visible on a smaller time frame. No. So let's get back to daily. Gap down, close the gap, continuation to the downside. Now, from the buyer's perspective, we are testing after the breakout. We are testing the range which has been created 27th August, right? And the range is between 2310 and 2207, so quite wide range, right? So we are talking about something similar to what we've seen on Thursday and with breakout, right? The only, so that's, you know, you remember we were discussing that's the latest weakness here, right? Because that's the latest weakness here. From here we hit a new low, so that might be that might provide some from the chart perspective only. I'm not talking right now about all this stuff Brexit related, etc., etc. I'm talking purely about the chart right now. So that might provide some kind of the hi Kainat, good morning. That might provide some kind of the demand or some kind of the support for the buyers, right? On the other hand, there is a no written rule that it's good to get two consecutive close above or below to confirm the breakout or breakdown, right? And depends of course of the on the time frame. The higher the time frame, let's say here on the daily, we need two consecutive daily close to eventually confirm. And as you can see, the price action on Friday, the close at 2278 was lower than the close on late August, and we are talking here about the 2285. All right. So in that case, both buyers and sellers got their arguments in hand, and I would rather agree with Random that market will try to push it lower again. And from that perspective, so we know where we are, right, from the daily chart perspective. The range created late August. Now, from the intraday perspective, we have some kind of the possible demand around 2250 over here. Okay, and we are talking about the range between 2242 and we are talking about 2210, so quite wide. Even on the hourly chart, it's about 30 pips trading range. Yeah, we will see. Looks like market at least will try to hit that levels. Below that levels would be great from the seller's perspective to get back and close here below 21.70, 21.60. That would activate this possible supply, and then we have some demand levels below. So in case you are a buyer, then this yellow zone from the hourly chart as the first possible demand zone. If you are a seller and you are looking for an opportunity to try to go short, you know, nothing extraordinary here, but what I would look for would be the possibility to stop hunt through this Asian high and rejection, right? So what I would like to see, especially that we are testing weekly open right now, blue dotted line, what I would like to see from here as a seller to attempt to go higher, hit the stops, maybe around UK GDP. And again, we are going to cover UK GDP live, so it's gonna be easy to try to confirm if we were right or no. From that perspective, trying to short the failure around the Asian high and trying to trade with very tight stop towards the first range, so towards 2240, 2210. So that's how I see the things on the cable here ahead of the London Open. Now, if we are talking about the pound, so let's have a look what we have on the euro pound. It looks like we hit and we've been discussing this. We've hit on Thursday quite nice possible demand zone, and bulls were trying to work with that zone on Friday. And here as well as on cable, we had a gap open, gap up at the open, trying to push a little bit higher. Now the problem with euro pound, the problem might be the range we've seen on the 29th of July, right? This breakout candle. Why? It's easy to explain. That's the bottom of this breakout candle, and it might work as a first line of the possible supply. As the first line of the possible supply here, okay? And that's how it worked last Friday, a little bit of the upper shadow. So let's switch to the lower time frame. Let's have a look what we have here and what kind of the possibilities may arise here. So Thursday, Friday price action. Let's have a look what we have, and taking into the consideration two things from Friday. The candle over here, as well as that one, which provide the buyers with a little bit of the power. So I think that what we've seen here, it was some kind of the test. So in case market is going to try to close the gap, nice liquidity pool over here, right? Some levels close to 89.65 to 89.50 might work from intraday perspective as a possible demand. So it's going to be smart to try to wait and see if we can hit that stops somewhere here, right? And if we can hit the levels down towards 50, trying to test again the bottom from the Friday. To the upside, on the other hand, this is the Friday high, as well as this broken swing may provide some kind of the supply here, and I would make it a little bit, yeah, something like this may work as a possible supply when we are talking about the intraday euro pound. So that's how I see the things. From euro pound perspective. Now let's switch to euro dollar. Let's switch to euro dollar. We were covering non-farm payrolls live. I've been stopped out right after the announcement, as I've been trying to take eventual advantage of the earnings, which were better. But we had a plan. What next? And let me switch and show you what I did, how I did it. I recovered the losses. So stay with me 1 second. Let me switch. I'm going to show you, not just to show you because I recovered. I would like to show you why I took it, and we discussed this possibility. During our meeting on Friday. All right. So as you can see, I had 3 orders here. Those 2 higher were unfilled and stayed unfilled. and they were here because of the move to the upside. Remember, we were discussing that was the possible demand, but once was broken, was possible to work as a supply. And as you can see, the one here was almost filled. But once I saw this double top over here with the pullback, not filling my order, with the half of the exposure, I opened the trade immediately. I seen this things going on, especially that taking into the consideration the rising trend line we've seen here, connected through the tops, right? So that was the stop count, and one of the reason I traded this short euro dollar again. Now let's get back to the platform and let's explain where was my target. So just 1 second, guys. Okay, and let's explain where was my target from that, because it's also important. You know, one can easily say, yeah, I closed at the end of the day. No, I didn't. After the first pullback, we had this possible demand, right? So that's where I expected some kind of the bounce on euro dollar, and we also discussed this live when we were covering non-farm payrolls. So there was a reaction inside that level, as you can see. So easy, what I did, the first wave to the downside, I take that distance and I made the easy measure, and that was my target, and it has been hit a little bit later. So no, I didn't, you know, I didn't follow the whole move to the downside. I closed based on my plan. In that case, it was the equal move to the downside based on the first wave from there. All right, so that's what happened. That's what happened on Friday, and that's the history already. What we can have here right now? How can we prepare ourselves for the London Open? So let's switch to the daily chart. Of course, the positive thing is this rejection. We've seen the rally on Thursday. This rejection from this possible supply. That's what we discussed. That also the mid line of this falling channel. All right. So what I'm gonna to look for today. So that might be some kind of the swing high here, right? So what I'm gonna to watch. Let's have a look. One of the combination distance between the high on Friday and distance between the Thursday high, and let's try to. And let's try to. Oh, jeez, what is? Yeah. And let's try to make it to the downside. So we are about right now. After this gap close, as you can see, there is some kind of the reaction based on this approach. So let's have a look from the intraday perspective. There is something we can try to work with around current levels from the seller's perspective. And to be honest with you, we are still working with this possible intraday demand from Friday. So in that case, we might move that one here. And everything here is around the weekly open blue dotted line. So very similar to what we discussed. On cable. Let's see if we can get the stop count above the Tokyo high, and if from or after that attempt to break, if we can see the rejection, that could be the case for more shorts to come. Now the very important thing is that if if we are going to see the continuation to the upside here on euro pound, we have to understand that euro pound during the London hours may dictate what is going on the market, right? We all, me as well, we all like to trade, for example, euro dollar because it's most liquid and stuff like this, and it's a and top volume, but we have to understand that sometimes what is going on euro dollar, it's not based on the euro dollar, it's based on the euro pound. And I've been trying to explain already a few times that it also it sometimes it might be cheaper to move euro dollar via euro pound, right? Because trying to move the market by 1 pip, it's not on euro dollar, is not that cheap business, all right? But we will get back into that sometime in the future again. So what is going on euro dollar might be the thing what is going on euro pound, so it's worth to remember about that. But anyway, very similar scenario from my perspective on a euro dollar. So if I'm going to see stop run through the Tokyo high, right, and rejection, so very similar to what we've seen post non-farm payrolls, and the reason I opened the short again. So very similar approach. Of course, I want to see this after London Open, so meaning there is still 35 minutes left. On the other hand, if you believe that the bottom of that channel created the bottom for euro dollar for quite some time, and you might want to look for the opportunity to try to go long, because if we hunt the stops right below the bottom of the channel, so naturally if that was the stop run to the downside, we should see some kind of the stop run to the upside, right? Logically. So in that case, you are watching the range which has been created at the very beginning of the September. In that case, I'm talking about 0980, 0975, as well as the previous Monday high, because it might work somehow as a demand. We didn't hurt here any sellers. That's the important thing. We didn't hurt sellers yet, right? But guys, let me show you something. If you are a buyer, you might want to try to take the advantage of that. Right? Stop count, bottom of the channel, Riley. A little bit of the pullback. So right now we should find some kind of the support around 75 plus minus few pips, right? If that's the case, right, and we will start to run from that levels, we are about to hit top of the channel, right? That's easy. So you have to, before you do something, it's a good to try to visualize to yourself what could be the price action, where they can go, using the easiest possible tools, right? I like to use the equal waves, and in that case, especially with this pullback, yeah, of course, random. What I'm talking about is also only my opinion, and everyone should do their own research before being involved in the market. So yeah, thank you, random. Anyway, so that's how I see the bull's perspective, right? So in that case, switching to the lower time frame, trying to find eventually the right entry. What we have here, those yellow possible demand zones we created previous week, they should work, still should work in case of the deeper move to the downside on exactly, random. That's why I'm trying to always trying to talk from both perspective, bulls and bears, to avoid the situation that I'm biased someone, right? That if, for example, my opinion is that yeah, market should go down, and I'm only trying to focus on the down move, right? No, that's what I'm trying to avoid, and yeah, that's why I'm always trying to discuss, trying to visualize the possible scenarios for both bulls and bears. Also, that's good from that perspective that even if you are biased one way, right, you have the idea where the opposite side may try to hit you, right, from where. So that's the I think that's the good way to try to do that, try to have that approach, building scenarios for both. Okay, so trying to summarize, euro dollar, stop count above Tokyo high rejection. That might be the possibility to try to go short euro. On the other hand, if you are more towards longs, right? So one of the yellow zones we created previous week may work as possible demand. The untested is the lowest one, right? Because the rest been tested. Here we have a lower shadow. Here we were trying to hold above, so there was a plenty of touches of this. So untested right now, in my opinion, is the one below. So that's how the euro dollar looks like right now. Dollar yen. Here there was a stop count, as you can see, on Thursday. Friday we are trying to go higher. Unfortunately, even not bad non-farm payrolls didn't help. The good thing is that taking into the consideration closing levels, that was taking into the talking about this latest range over here, that was the highest close, right? That was also the that was also the inside day on Friday compared to Thursday. So probably market will try to at least try to push higher from there. But I wouldn't be in rush here. I wouldn't be in rush. I would rather take into the consideration what we've seen on Tuesday, right? So this range from Tuesday, this one over here, all right, because that's from where we are starting to go higher. So in case of deeper pullback, I'm going to watch levels close to 106 35 106 level, and that's in case we are going to see deeper pullback, right? So in case of the higher levels, if you remember, we were discussing there is a possibility to see even 108 108.20, if not 109, right? To the downside, of course, move back inside this range based on a daily close, especially 2 consecutive daily close. That might confirm we are about to get back into the consolidation, and we had this stop count to the downside, right? On the 26th of August. Right now we had a stop to the upside, so let's have a look what's going to happen. Tricky one for me, because the data is one thing, but and the non-farm payroll wasn't bad. I would say wasn't bad, but that means that putting the question mark towards the Fed. I'm not saying we are not gonna see the cut on September, but it might not be dovish cut, right? So that might push indices lower. In that case, we might switch to risk off, and in that case, the yen eventually might be treated as a safe haven. But with yen, we were discussing this few times. It might be tricky because what is going on in China, what is going on in Hong Kong, is putting the pressure overall on the whole Asia. So we might, if we are not going to sort that things out quickly, it might turn towards some kind of the Asian crisis, and then there are not gonna be excuse to then it's going to be no excuse not to sell Japanese yen, and you know it might not be safe haven anymore. But we will see. It's you know it's not based on our intraday view. Anyway, very tricky from my perspective when we are talking about the dollar yen. We will see. Let's have a look what we have from the indices perspective, especially here on Nasdaq, because we are testing this over under we discussed for quite few days already. We are testing the levels from where we moved higher last time, so we are testing right now after the breakdown. So very interesting thing from the Nasdaq perspective. I see three possible scenarios if you are biased to the downside, right? The one is the market will try to create swing high over here, and in that case, you know, you wanna see move back and close inside this old range, right? And that's the first possible scenario, right? So that might be very aggressive approach. The second one would be to wait for the market to close inside and retest top of that range, the more conservative one. And the third one is to market to still rally, right, towards 7,960, 8,000, and creating the upper shadow and finally showing the chances for market to try to go down. Yeah, but that's the short side. The long side might be the pullback either towards the top of this broken range, right, or towards the middle of that range, the latest swing low, right, and higher from here. Okay, so either, one more time, the bulls are here around the top of the range, right, or bulls are a little bit lower in the middle of that broken range, and we might see rally from here. But that's something you know, in terms of the US indices to cover during the or around New York Open. But let's have a look what we have from the DAX perspective, because DAX approaching another level of possible supply, right? But here I would rather wait, either if you are a conservative, I would rather wait for a little bit higher level, so creating a little bit higher shadow here, right, and closing below Friday high. That might provide the opportunity to try to create swing high. From the intraday perspective in the DAX, from the intraday perspective on the DAX, as you can see here, that's my level where I'm going to try to check what is going on. 12,250 based on my chart. That's where I'm going to try to work with shorts in case of the rejection on a smaller time frame. So once the DAX cash is open, right, I want to see the rally towards 12,250. I'm going to switch to smaller time frame, and I'm going to look for any kind of the rejection, which from my perspective may provide to a little bit of the sell-off on DAX. What's going to be my target? The top of the broken range We are talking about the levels around 12,150 based on my chart. So in that case, I'm going to look for something like 100 points on the DAX from the intraday perspective. We'll see if it's going to work my way. And of course, the buyers are here, right, at the top of this previous range. Gold, very important levels right now. 1500, right? If you remember, I've been short. I closed with profit that short, but I've been a little bit impatient and closed too early. Anyway, a very interesting situation here on gold. And right now, what we have here, so we were trying to draw few ranges, right? So we broke the latest range to the downside after two tests of this big supply level, big supply zone based on the weekly, blue color related to the weekly chart. Huge rejection, right? So right now, the bottom of that latest range, as well as the 50% of that range, might work as a supply. So let's have a look what we have from the intraday perspective when we are talking about these ranges, right? And as you can see, I already have this one after the break. That was the one tradable, and right now we have possible supply, as I mentioned, at the half of that last range, right? Can we get that high? I have no idea, to be honest with you, but I'm not in rush to trying to sell at the psychological level, right? Because trying to sell right above 1500, meaning that you are selling right at the psychological support. So I would rather see the strong breakdown through 1500 and then retest rally back toward this level, and that would change my approach, and then I would start to think about some kind of the selling opportunity around 1500. Right now I'm waiting and want to see if we can get that high, right? To test this possible supply. We'll see. It's worth, as I mentioned previously, it's worth to watch dollar Chinese yuan after huge sell-off we've seen previous week, right? Especially through the 715. We stopped and we were trying to hold 710, all right? From this dollar Chinese yuan perspective. Now after the Friday breakdown, we try, and it's strange because the China cut the reserve ratios. So instead of the trying to trade based on the rate differentials, they took the advantage that it's going to help the whole situation in China. Anyway, okay, but right now, so meaning that the huge breakdown we've seen on the Friday. So what we have right now, it might be treated as a retest of the 714, 715. So it's worth to watch, in my opinion, 714, 715 in case of the rejection. All right. So and to be honest with you, I think we are still got the chance to see a little bit higher levels. Now, just the final word. When you read, the President Trump Twitter that everything is going fine with China, right? That they are still in talks, they are going back to the table early October. But it's good sometimes to read between the line. And over the weekend, there was a news from China that both Apple and Foxconn, they broke labor law in China. So all those stuffs are tricky. Of course, I'll go laugh I'll go laugh. President Trump Twitter account is easy to read, right? So it's one-way ticket only. But that's what we are going to get back into. Anyway, guys, it was my pleasure to be with you here. I'm going to focus on pound mostly today because of this UK GDP. Of course, don't forget, within the next 1 hour and 30 minutes, we are going to meet again and we are going to cover this UK GDP live only here on Liteforex Global YouTube channel, so you're more than welcome to join me. So pound is about to test this possible demand. At the same time, euro pound trying to break through the Friday high. So don't be trapped, guys. Don't be trapped. Do your own research, and let's have a meet again within 1 hour and 30 minutes. We are going to cover UK GDP live. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of the day. See you around. Goodbye, guys.